There you go. All right, everyone. Welcome to Let's Create Tuesday. Good to see you all. My name is John Ruby. This is actually the Let's Create Tuesday, so this is pretty great. I just realized I'm finally getting the hang of it, so that's excellent. This is actually, Ashley, this is actually a good time for you to join because we kind of know what we're doing now. Excellent. I'm an author and a coach. I've been working with assisting others with creating more of what they really want since 2005. And if you're coming back, go ahead and say why you're back. That would be great. Throw that in the chat. You can either be specific, like what you're working on, or just whatever is bringing you back tonight. That would be great to share that with everyone. And if you're new, why are you here? That would be great to see that. And this is a great time for me to say, a great way for this to grow is for you guys to invite other people, right? Because I can tell people how wonderful it is, and they're gonna like, of course you're saying it's wonderful, you're leading it, right? But then when they hear it from you, you're the people that they really know, and it means something far more about whatever you say than I say. And the reason why I'm doing this is, especially at the time of COVID, I saw with a lot of my clients, but then also just a lot of my friends, when we're all trapped indoors, so many of us just defaulted to so much more, I call it binge living, right? Watching shows and eating and everything. And that was just sort of the way we dealt with life in the past. But then when we did it like times 10, we got really clear within about 2 months that just wasn't really the best way to live life, that there had to be something more. And so more has always been creativity. And so I've assisted people with tapping more into that. And I found actually that as they tap more into their creativity, they actually do the other stuff less because they already feel good. So my part of my true mission in life that I really feel is if everyone on the planet did 20 minutes of creativity a day, whether it be writing, dancing, singing, gardening, whatever that is, the world would be a better place. Great. The slap heard around the world. That's right. I appreciate you sharing. Right. I wanted to commit time to creativity. Fantastic. There you go. Thank you, Patricia. Fantastic. I love the energy of the group. The time keeps committed. That's right. Community. Seems like a much better use of time than Tiger King. Oh, well, I don't know about that. That's crazy talk. But yes. So that's the mission. Tomorrow you'll receive an email with a replay if you want to be part of that again, see that. But there's also going to be the link for next Tuesday. So you can always open that up and click on that for next Tuesday. So I always say there's three ways that people mostly use Let's Create Tuesday. One is raw creativity, right? Just doodling, arts, something interesting. The other one is a specific form that people like either poetry, or playing the piano, journal, tie-dye shirts, something like that. And then there's always people that have a specific creative project they work on. And they find a half-hour focused energy is all really good. Fantastic. And so let's go here to, so we're going to do three things. We're going to do a little bit of this creativity and inspiration thing that I use in my coaching. And then we'll actually break into our own creativity. So this, I wanted to share, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who actually writes music, and it was profound, at least it was to me, and I think you might enjoy it, so let's find out. So, so some of you have seen, so this is supposed to be a prism, okay? And when sunlight comes down, it hits the prism, right? And it bends some way, and then it comes out, and then we see a rainbow. Okay, we see the rainbow. So this is, we're represented, each of us being the prism. And you can say inspiration, creativity, the life force, soul energy, angels whispering to us, whatever you want to say. That's totally fine, whatever it is. But this energy that is around us doesn't just automatically manifest on the world, unless you want to say it manifests through nature, right? That we don't have any part of. You know, the raccoons and trees and mountains, they just come along the way they come along. But everything else, books, cars, albums, music, poetry, it's got to come through. So that's us. So the inspiration, creativity comes down through us and then comes out. What's really interesting is we see the rainbow, right? But it actually gets focused in a lot more, or I should say gets broken up in a lot more ways, because this is just the visible spectrum, right? Now, I don't really know science that well, but I know there's like some infrared rays that come on either the lower or the high end of the scale, and there's like microwaves, and then I think there's like hyperspeed waves, right? You know, that on Star Wars, right? That we don't really see. So the reason why I'm bringing this all up is when we enjoy somebody else's project, when we read Harry Potter, when we see a movie we really like, when we listen to music that we love, right? We're experiencing the rain, right? That's what we can see, feel, hear, okay? But the author or the musician or the creator, they got to experience this whole bandwidth that was actually bigger. So there's some, and I'm fascinated with this because I've seen actors and directors and other creators sometimes say they never go back and watch a movie or read their own material. And my experience of that has been because it's where the actual creator gets the energy and the juice from is not really the finish the project. And I'm going to say this, and I prefer you not to share it to other people because out of context, it can sound perhaps terrible, but in a way, this finished project is dead to them. It doesn't have life. It's the actual creating part that has the life, right? So when J.K. Rowling is writing her book and it's just like, oh, what about this? And oh my gosh, plants that talk and scream, or Hermione gets frozen, or what about Ron? And that's where the life is and the creativity and the juice. So while we can enjoy Harry Potter and it's still super cool and fun and entertaining, and stories give us wisdom and clarity and insight about how to live, all of that is 100% true. Same with music, everything else. But it's the actual creating part that has all this extra bandwidth that we don't see that the creator actually experiences, right? So I mentioned this because as we do more of our own creativity, at some point we're going to be, and many of us probably can look back on things, is as soon as something is finished, then it has less energy for us than when we're actually creating. And what made me really think about this is when I was talking to my friend, and he said, when he started getting close to being done with a project, he started asking himself, what else fascinates me? What else is interesting to me? Because he knew he needed to start something else and start thinking about it. When the one project ended, then he could start doing the second one, because he found out that when a project ended and he hadn't started the second one, this was his words, he felt intense loneliness. So he felt intense loneliness, and that was the lack of being creative, right? So that's what a lot of people, and maybe even ourselves at times, when we don't create, we feel intense loneliness, and that's part of why we can go watch too many Netflix shows. That's why we can eat a little too much. That's why we can stay up a little too late. That's why we can do all of those binge type living, because we're trying to overcompensate that loneliness or fill the loneliness, or not feel the loneliness, or numb out the whatever you want to call it. And so the opportunity is, as we do these evenings more and as we create more, one, excellent, whatever we want to create is being made. That's fantastic, because then it can be shared, right? Thank God for J.K. Rowling and the literally like billions of people she's entertained. Fantastic, right? We went to Harry Potter World recently at Universal. Not recently, but before this whole thing. Super fun, right? A lot of joy, so that's fantastic. And at the same time, the real joy is in the creating. So as you experience this, I encourage you just to become more and more aware of like, oh, it's not the actual thing I'm creating, but it's the act of creating that gives me life and joy and fun. And when one thing gets done, fantastic, share it, sell it, whatever, promote it, and let's start another one, because that's where one way that I call it, some people like, hopefully it doesn't offend you, I call creating Godding, O-D-I-N-G, because that's one way that we really demonstrate and participate in creating and being part of that life force. So we've got like 3 minutes before we create. Anyone have a thought or a question on that they'd like to share? Something come forward? Did you see something new that you haven't seen before? We got time for 1 or 2 shares. No, all good. Anybody? There's a great saying that people are more afraid. The number one fear is the number one fear is public speaking. So that people are actually more afraid of giving the eulogy than being in the coffin, if I said that correct. All right. So on that note of fun and creativity,
I'll jump in the coffin.
Fantastic.
So to speak.
Yes.
But
So
just what you were saying, just when you were talking about the engagement, it just was reminding me of a phrase that the process is the goal.
Yeah.
Like, so, just appreciating that. Yeah.
Right. Cool. And then along those lines, we can approach the process with either having a mental have to or should, or we can approach it as fun and wonder. So when I also talked to my friend, one thing he said, which actually kind of moved me, and is he said, I want to find another thing that I can fall in love with. And so that's really sometimes very different than what people say is like, oh, I have to do this or I should do this. And his approach is, I want to find something that I'm fascinated with or fascinated by or intrigued with or I'm curious with, and something that I can fall in love with. And so then you can feel that kind of brings in a whole different type of energy than to create from that space. So on that note, we're going to break into our creating. First, everybody wave to each other, and you'll just look around. And what you want to do is you want to send positive energy. And so inside, you want to say, I believe in you, and have fun, and then accept that energy, right? Because that's where it all feels good. Okay, so those who know what you're doing, you can start getting ready for that. You can leave your camera on, or you can turn it off. Either way, I'm going to keep track of the time, so you don't need to. We all have 30 minutes. At 25 minutes, I'll come on and we'll say, well, 5 more minutes. And if you're not exactly sure what to do, start with a little journaling or doodling, and then always from the curious place of like, I wonder what would be fun. I wonder what would be a good time. I wonder what would be entertaining. I wonder what would move me. And when I say I wonder, then that can often invite inspiration. All right, we'll see you soon. Okay, everyone. So just take your time, come back, of course, finish up what you're writing and or doing. There's no immediate rush, right? It's not, as we always say, it's not like high school with pencils down. And this is an opportunity. We've got time for some sharing. So what happened, what was new, what was different, what was an insight that you may have got today about you or your project or creativity? Who would like to share first? Go ahead, raise your hand electronically, or you can actually raise your hand. All right, Jeff.
Yeah, I appreciate all the support that you gave me. I mean, I started writing a book with an idea about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and I got in it and got sidetracked and couldn't tell you what it was or whatever. And I've been just with all the pandemic and work and life as it is, I haven't been creative. And then I've been looking to a thinking in my own mind, like I had to finish what I started before I could go do something else.
Mm-hmm.
And by being a part of your class, I realized that there are no rules. I make the rules. And by doing some writing and clearing for myself, I let go. I released that old project, and it feels really good to go out. And I found that I really enjoyed writing,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe not writing a whole book with a whole business model attached to it and just go write.
Yeah.
It seems like it was more fun rather than a project.
Fantastic. You seem much lighter and there's a smile on your face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And I put it in my closet and put it away, and maybe someday I'll go back to it, but
Right.
it's not anywhere near the front page of my office.
Right.
So
Thanks for sharing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yep. Yep. All right. Who else would like to share? Let me do this. Cool. Sue, go ahead.
The thing that you said about working on something or playing for something a long time ago, I'm a dentist, and I built a new office, and I was so excited to build the new office. I was so excited to build the practice that I built within the new office. And a couple of years ago, I ended up closing it and going to work for someone else. And for many reasons, and even when I was still in the practice, it was the building of it that was more fun than the actual doing of it. Or now that I'm someplace else, there's not a lot of passion or joy in the same way as when it was what I was building, trying to create something that was different, something that was meeting a need that otherwise wasn't being met in my community. And so I didn't realize that was like a common thing. Like you're saying, like, oh, it's the doing. And once I've done it, like, okay, what's the next doing? And so definitely like when you sit without a next doing, at least in a professional sense, it does feel like lonely. Like that definitely was the feeling. And I'm now in a position where I can choose a new direction, and I'm kind of in that not knowingness part of it. And then this whole idea of like, oh, actually creativity can help with that, because I'm being creative again as I'm putting out my feelers, seeing what's out there, seeing what I connect with about what will be where I go next. And I don't even need to know what the end result is. I just need to start moving.
Right. And there's a big, and it sounds like, can you tell me if this is accurate, Sue? What I really hear is you're really you're in the exploring phase.
Yep.
And exploring in itself is growth. It's maybe not necessarily creativity, but exploring is learning something new, seeing something new. And whenever I do that, you do that, when any of us do that, whenever we explore, then we learn things about the world. And when our outer world changes, our inner world changes, because we realize something or discover something or connect two pieces of information that weren't connected before. So that's awesome.
That's definitely been part of my experience during COVID, because it allowed me to I got furloughed. I got to do things I've never done before, like participate in Zooms. It's been incredible. I've been doing stuff with suffrage and Black Lives Matter, and connecting with wonderful, amazing people that I went to school with that I don't normally connect with because we're having Zooms, right?
Yeah.
And then I just realized I was totally missing all that, like, not just the intellectual stimulation, but
Right.
working with other people, collaborating, which I really didn't get a chance to do with
Right.
what I'm doing now. And it's just like, oh, I want more of that. I want to collaborate with like-minded, smart people who want to change the world. That's
Nice.
exciting.
Excellent. Excellent. Fantastic. Great to have you here. All right. All right. We got time. Okay, Debbie, I will go ahead.
This has been such a different experience for me because I've always
It's a little windy or something. Is it? It's a little
Yeah.
hard to hear you. Okay.
Literally.
Yeah,
It's-
that's that.
it's 102 degrees here in Oklahoma.
Wow.
I wanted to be outside, so I put a fan on me, but I'm glad you told me.
Yeah.
So this has been different for me because I haven't ever considered myself as being creative.
Hmm.
I've been doing this maybe 5 times now, and I did your day workshop and everything, and I can tell that I feel a part of everybody now, you know, and I just love how down to earth you are, and then people come in and everybody else seems down to earth, you know, and it's the collective does help, like that energy of doing it together and enjoying it, and seeing people and hearing people share about their transformation as they're doing it.
Mhm.
It's been really encouraging. And I invited my daughter Danielle, who has done this one and the last one, to be a part of it, and she is in New York City, and I know there are a few others who said they are there too, and you know, they're stuck at home a lot more than we are, and I have just wanted to connect with her in some way, and so this has just been great to have this as one of our ways of connecting, even though we won't see each other for a while and we're so far apart. And
Super.
then another friend is on here, Patty, who is from Oklahoma, and so it's just neat to be from all over the place.
Yeah.
But we have this connection, so thank you.
You're welcome. And so tell me, since you've been doing this for about 5 times, how is tonight different than the first couple times?
I kind of felt like an imposter joining in the first few times. You know, kind of like, oh, I don't fit, and these people are creatives and they're going to notice that I'm not creative or whatever. And what you've helped me understand is that we're all creative. And like I've mentioned this to you personally, but that when you said that creativity is a human need, just like water and air and food and connection with people, that was big for me. I was like, oh, then, you know, how have I been living without it? And there's been some creativity, like creating curriculum, say for a retreat or something.
Right.
But different. It's been different. So I feel like I belong, and that, you know, I can just jump in and do whatever.
Fantastic. Yeah, great, super. So now feeling right. So now you can just jump in and do whatever. And so how would you say it? You're allowing yourself, you're embracing it? What type of word would you use about your creative spirit?
I think allowing, giving myself permission that it's not goofing off, that it's actually enriching my life. And I'm doing the thing that you suggested about, you know, set yourself up for success where you have things ready to go instead of spending the time that you have set aside to create, to get ready to create. And I tried that this morning, and it really, it helped a lot.
Nice.
And my day went better.
Excellent. Congratulations. Go ahead, and Diane, we'll go with great.
Yes, I was just, I just noticed when Sue was talking, she says, when our outer world changes, so does our inner world change. And I was thinking it's just actually the opposite for me. When my inner world changes and I get out of the fear and that kind of like stuckness of, oh, where do I go? What do I do? And just like flow, then my outer world changes, you know, and I've noticed that happening in this little creativity class. And I also noticed that when I was doing personal growth work, when I had businesses, and when I gave myself permission to succeed and to risk and to create and to play with it and just see what happens. And I produce so much more, and it's so much more exciting and interesting and fulfilling.
Right. So, I mean, that sounds beautiful. And how would you say that, a more playful spirit or a more playful approach? How would?
I guess a more positive approach.
Positive
to
approach.
Allow myself
Wow.
to play, and the stakes are not high in risking. I play,
Mm-hmm.
and it's okay. There's no measuring stick, so to speak. A little bit different in business, but if I fail, no one knows I failed. If I'm just creating something new, and it is in my writing. And even when I'm doing garden design, I feel more, when I feel more free inside, that rather than being afraid of failure, being free inside to risk and to have fun and just let it be a creative process without having an end product, and just see what comes out of it. And that's how mine exhibits.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's great. And so what's happened? How has Let's Create Tuesday and the workshop assisted you to move in that direction? What have been some of the inner changes? So letting go of the fear, moving into play. Anything else that comes forward that you could share that could help us all to even move more in that direction?
Accepting that every step is a step forward, and as opposed to just standing there frozen and waiting for the big one to come out, to just, step by step by step, and that it can, and it doesn't have to be in a particular direction. It can be like, remember the cartoon? It was probably before most people's day, but Family Circus or something, the cartoon, and he was always going all over the place. And that's kind of where I feel that freedom. And the more unstructured I am, the more freedom I have. It's kind of like almost in dancing, I don't have to do a foxtrot. I can just go wild. Yeah,
that's beautiful. That's great. Thank you. Yeah, and that's a great place to end this evening. And part of that, the dancing and the flowing is the shifting into the feminine, right? The dancing and the flowing is the shifting without the specific form. So sometimes the specific form can help us do things, and then also just moving around and letting the energy flow into us and then out, and that's beautiful. Well, great to see you all. Fantastic. We'll do it again next Tuesday. Just real quick, raise your hand if that seemed to have gone pretty fast for you, those 25-30 minutes. Yeah, that was really, it's beginning to feel like 7 minutes now or something like that. Hey, super. Deegan, if you want to stay on the line, we'll talk a moment. All right, everyone. Great seeing you. Have a great evening, everyone. All right. I'll mute everyone and we can say goodbye. Oops, where's that unmute button?
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Keep creating.
See you. Happy Tuesday. Bye.